Gary, do you think Ford had to pay a royalty to get into this supercharging deal, or is on a licensing deal where Ford pays, not only the Ford drivers, but Ford as the company pays something to Tesla?
Yeah, it's a good question. I really don't know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, as a shareholder, I really want them to pay, right? I don't want this just to be given out for free.
Well, and especially if you have to go and pull into a supercharger and you're behind some Ford F-150, EV Lightning filling up or something.
Exactly. With their battery structure, who can't take the 250 charge, right? The whole thing is, I mean, I get the good sense out of it, but I want to make sure we get paid for it.
Look, I think it's a good thing, and I've always been a fan of this because I think they get good advertising from it. People pull into the superchargers and they see the Tesla logo and they get to see all the Tesla cars. So it won't be that car, but it'll be their next car. It'll be more likely to be a Tesla. So I think Elon's taking a long-term perspective and saying this good thing, and it's good to be the standard if you get GM and Stellantis and everybody else to follow suit. So I think it's smart on Tesla's part, and I realize it's going to inconvenience consumers who are used to having the charging stations just for themselves. But I think in the long term, it's good for Tesla stockholders.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I mean, when Farley said this was months in the making, this took a long time to get there. If it was just, oh yeah, sure, come and you get everything for free, it wouldn't have been months to negotiate. And the second thing is that Tesla allowed Ford to do all this charging on the Ford app rather than imposing them the Tesla app. I really hope they make them pay for that, because I mean that's a little bit too generous if there was no money flowing from it.
Yeah, I think we'll hear more about it. It's still so new that we don't know all the details about it, but I think more details will come out, especially if we get somebody else like GM or Toyota or Mazda or somebody.
Rivian, Lucid. Do you think Lucid is going to come?
I don't know. There's a lot of bad blood between the two firms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Look, Lucid it's not going to go away because the Saudis have lots of money. But on the other hand, I just don't think it's going to do that well. And I've never thought it's going to. It's down 20% today, give or take. I mean, it's been a terrible, terrible stock. And I have a lot of people who call me up or DM me and say, "Why don't you like Lucid?" And it's like, because it's in the wrong segment. It's in the luxury sedan segment. The prices start at $89,000 for a Lucid Air. The Gravity, which is their SUV, is not coming out till sometime next year, maybe. And again, they did 1,400 cars deliveries in the first quarter. Think about that. I mean, it's a crazy valuation for 1,400 cars. So it's hard for me to get excited about Lucid, other than I think the price is going to keep going down.
Let's do the next one. Next question, please. And Chris Cage, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Another, it goes into the beer fund. Fantastic. I haven't bought Gary or Alexandria beer yet. My goodness, or wine. How much is a Megapack? $2 million. How many do they make per day? What is the Megapack profit margin? How long is the ROI for the operator? What is auto bidder? My goodness, that's so many questions. So is there any of them that you want to take there, Gary? So maybe the ROI question?
Well, we don't know. And all we know is that the capacity is about 10,000 of these now before they open up, the Megapack factory in China. So you can do the math, which is what we've done, and said, okay, if you could make 10,000 of these and actually get them installed and get paid on them, that's a big dollar amount that I can add to my energy P&L. I don't think it's 50% margin. I really don't know, but I bet it's probably closer to 30, because Elon's even said it, that it's not, it's not going to be that much above where EVs are. He thinks it's probably about the same as what an EV makes. The ROI for the operator, remember, these are being sold to a lot of communities as well. So you got governments buying them, local municipalities buying them as backup generators. So I don't know if you could think about an ROI the same way you would think about ROI on something else. I don't know the answers to those last three questions.
Yeah, I mean the way I think the commentary around the 50% profit margin, I know it was the number thrown around before, but I think Elon's guidance was 20 to 30%. And if you look at Energy's gross margin as they ramp, it hasn't really been able to break the low teens. So I think it's going to be one of those wait and see where it ends up. And I would take Elon's word. I mean, it might surprise to the upside to maybe 35, but I think that it just depends. And then you also have the IRA tax credit, right, for the batteries as well. That could heavily influence that. So who knows how it pans out over time.
Yeah, I agree with you that all subsidies and whatever's are not included. But I mean, you can obviously imagine how many times I watched my question replaying that. And one thing that was very key, he said energy is 20 to 25%, maybe go up to 30. So his pivot was really 25%. And I'm so happy that was stated publicly, because I mean, all these people running around with 50% in their models, I'm really pleased that was, keeping our expectations much more real.
And look, that's part of our goal as analysts. You don't want to be too crazy with your numbers, because you want Tesla to be able to beat the numbers. And I always tell people, why are you getting greedy? Like FSD is another example. People are saying, well, why don't you put anything in for FSD? I do. I include FSD, and I assume about a 10 to 12% take rate in the out years, and I assume they continue to get $15,000 and $199 a month. So you take deliveries times the take rate times that 10%, and that's a global number, and you could split the lease cost and the purchase cost. And remember, with buying it, you recognize half of it in the first year, and then half over, I think it's over 5 years. I'm not going to get greedy and then add on top of that a robo-taxi network. To me, that's being greedy. So I try to keep my numbers and look, if we could get to $320 in a year, which is my price target, we would all be happy, right? So why are people trying to get greedy and say, well, you should add another $1,000 for robo-taxi network? Why? I don't know. I just find it odd that people are so greedy.
I think that the energy piece of the equation, I still feel like it's it still has tremendous potential. So even if these, the profit margin number was 25% and they're really making 30 per day once they're fully ramped, I think that 10,000 per year figure, right, it equates to that loosely. Then of course this is a giant chunk of change, and it is going to help the Tesla valuation. But it's going to be I'm very curious to see how this is going to pan out over time. Cool. Let's do a couple more, and then we'll wrap this sucker up. Next question, please. And the honest broker question: what, if anything, can Musk do to make you lose confidence in him as CEO and favor him stepping down? Whoa, what a big question. Who wants to take this one first? It's a fascinating question. If they don't run advertising, right? I'm kidding.
Well, look, he's going to run advertising, and I guess what would make me nervous if they kept cutting price on Model Y. I don't mind them cutting price on Model 3 or S and X, but Model Y has no inventory. So that would just call into question, why are they doing it? And would that make me lose confidence in him? No, I just would question it, which, I can question it. If they started making big acquisitions, to get into new spaces that have nothing to do with the business, I guess that would scare me. If they bought more Bitcoin, that would scare me. And look, I think like an institution, when I say I would do it, I think institutions would lose confidence if he did any of that stuff. I don't know, Alexandra, your thoughts?
I mean, the problem I have is I'm so emotionally attached to Tesla and Elon that I take probably my pain point is much higher than yours. I can take much more of his shenanigans and new projects and walking away from stuff than probably an institutional investor with a very clear investment horizon and alternatives will do. But I have to say, if he would really, I mean, the one thing probably would be if he completely steps away from Tesla, which I don't think it is. It's the biggest chunk of his investment. The other thing I was always wondering, what happens if this Mars mission really includes him, right? What would happen to my belief in Tesla? The thing is, Investor Day has solved that question. I was always very worried about key man risk and who would be number 2 and whatever. And that bench we saw in March, beginning of March, when they did Investor Day, that gave me a lot of comfort. So I'm less of a only Elon-centered fangirl now. I'm really more of a Tesla company fangirl. So I agree with you. They could probably do some mistakes in the short run, and they do, and they admit them and they correct them. But as long as it's in the margin of error, I'm still good.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, if I had to add something, it would be, I would wish they could have more of a marketing element. And I know that's probably bad words to use, but I just, when I use the word advertising, people all get crazy, but more education would be useful, I think. And that would be the one knock, that they have this view of let the product sell itself. And that's fine, but you're going to continue to have 30%, 35% delivery growth, and you got production growing at 40, 45%. And he's going to keep, ramping up Berlin. He's going to keep ramping up Austin. He's going to get Mexico up and running. So I believe they can get production growing, continue to grow at 40, 45%. 45% is what it's been growing. But this idea that they can sell every product they make is just crazy. And I go back to, if that were true, why would they cut price? Right? You would just say, well, we're going to sell it anyway, so why would we cut price? So it goes back to what he has said, and he says it on the conference call, and read the transcript from first quarter, where he basically says, look, we look at it every day. We look at orders. We know what our production is, and we come up with a clearing price to clear our production, and put in quotes, excess production. And so as long as they keep on making more than they sell, you're going to have this downward earnings pressure. And I don't know why you just can't take advertising as a second variable. Again, I'm not a physics person, but to me, multivariate equations are better than single variate equations.
Sure,
always. Why do you just have to have price as your one variable that drives EV adoption? Why can't you have two variables? And
I give you that. It really sounds stubborn. It's at least test it out.
Yeah, I'd like to see more. And again, that's why Linda being around, I think if she was part of Tesla, that'd be great. But even part of Twitter, she'll be part of the senior management orbit around, Elon, and maybe some of her wisdom about advertising and how to measure ROI will rub off. There is a concept in business called diminishing marginal utility. And the first dollar, it's just like, if you're hungry and you eat a hot dog, that first hot dog tastes great. The sixth hot dog doesn't taste as good. And the same applies with pricing. When you cut price the first time, that's going to be your biggest bang for the buck. And that first dollar of advertising is going to be your biggest ROI. And then there's declining marginal utility as you spend more and more. So I think that first ad flight, for lack of a better word, ad campaign is going to get you a lot of response, even though it's a long-term investment. Whereas additional price cuts on Model Y don't get you much. So.
Yeah. The way I would answer this question for myself is if the company reaches a point where the culture of how it's run sort of mirrors similar large companies, where it's let's grow 5 to 8% per year, best case scenario. Let's try to squeeze every profit that we can. Let's not worry too much about the next 5 years. Let's worry more about how can we make the next quarter better. And Elon Musk ends up selling 95% of his Tesla stock or more to do something else, then I'm like, okay, so is Elon Musk still running the company? And that's when I would get seriously concerned, right? Because I really believe that culture of innovation the company has is it's by far its biggest competitive advantage. And so if that were to change, then that would make me concerned. So
they're the employer of choice. I mean, people are engineers. They want to go work for Elon Musk. That's a great advantage they have versus Google, Microsoft, Apple, anybody really.
Yeah.